Today's question is there a sort of general consensus on what constitutes good music, or is good music truly, completely subjective? Hi, this is Friedemann from Findeisen Songwriting, and thanks for joining me. We'll just start out with, of course, it's subjective whether you like something or not. If you like Nicki Minaj's Anaconda, it's totally up to you. Some people hate it, some people love it. But there is something to be said for certain patterns of music that we as a human race have grown accustomed to and that we now like. And this has a lot to do with the pentatonic scale, and in the Western world are 7 notes in a key, the Ionian system it's called. And there's a really entertaining video about that, which I'll put in the description below this video, by Bobby McFerrin, outlining what the pentatonic scale is. It's very fun, and I recommend you watch it if you haven't seen it already. So I'll be honest with you, this was a question that I thought about quite a lot when I started out my songwriting school, holistic songwriting, because I was thinking, how can I teach someone how to write songs when really everything is possible? I remember reading a couple of books on songwriting and reading something and being like, yeah, well, but you could do the exact opposite and that would also work. Read the next thing. Yeah, I could do this, this, and this. I could name 5 songs that do the exact opposite and that still work. Like that thing where people always say the chorus needs to be huge, it needs to explode, it needs to go forward and in your face, blah, blah, blah. Think of System of a Down's Chop Suey, where the chorus is the smallest part in the entire song. And that totally works. And that's because people come to music from all angles and they just start like, messing with the rules and saying like, oh, let's just do this and try out this. And that's kind of the fun of songwriting, right? You take a rule, flip it on its head and try something new and see if you can make that work. That's kind of what makes it creative and interesting for me at least. So it's really hard to pin down specific rules in songwriting unless, and here's the big unless you're writing for a certain demographic. I've made holistic songwriting for people who want to write commercial music, and then the rules become much, much clearer, right? And I'll still say every now and then, if you do this specific style of commercial music, you want to do this, and if you do this, then you want to do this, and sort of as a guideline in that style. So styles kind of differ there as well, a little bit, but not as much as salsa is different from pop music, for example. Like those are really very distinct, very different styles. And rules that go for one style will not go for the other, not work at all. So for example, if you are a 14-year-old girl, which, I don't know, you might be, you might like Shawn Mendes, but if you like Shawn Mendes, it's very likely that you will not also like Slayer. If you write for 14-year-old girls, let me put it this way, it would probably be bad advice to tell you in the bridge you can also play long guitar solos, right? This is something you might read in a songwriting book. But if I know that your demographic is 14-year-old girls, I'm not going to tell you that you can play guitar solos in the bridge, because it's just not true. On the radio, you won't hear guitar solos anymore. You probably won't hear any solos at all anymore if you don't look at Walk the Moon's Shut Up and Dance, which had like a little keyboard solo in there. Typically, that would be my advice to you, like stay away from solos, because that's just not what the demographic listens to. All I'm doing with holistic songwriting is really looking at what's already there and telling you, well, have you noticed this? Have you noticed this? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that? Here's how you can do that more efficiently. And here's how you can do it in such a way that people will actually enjoy listening to this if they're into this demographic. So I'm not saying holistic songwriting is for everyone. It's definitely not for people who want to write like just house music or something like that, although there's some bits in there that are interesting for you as well, like the lyrical storytelling, which I'm going to put a link up here. If you're looking at hook writing and stuff like that, that's maybe not so much for you. Or the drum writing is writing for live drums. Why would you want to write for live drums if you write house music? Now, one more thing about what makes music sound good. Recently, in the last couple of years, more and more styles, and I'm talking about the outer edge styles, more alternative styles, have gotten more and more influences from the mainstream, from pop music, right? Pop music is huge. If you listen, for example, to dubstep, before that was big, it was really like this aggressive kind of, it was metal done with electronic instruments, with synthesizers. And then pop music kind of reached out and grabbed dubstep and drew it closer to the mainstream, drew it closer to the center. And in the end, even Justin Bieber had a dubstep track on his album. So that's kind of how it works. Pop music, and this is what holistic songwriting is about, teaching about that mainstream, even though you might not like mainstream. And I'm not even a big listener. I don't even listen to the charts that much. My favorite styles are more like rock and folk and more the alternative styles. But if you know how the center works, it really helps you making all other styles, even though if you're an alternative writer, making all of those stronger